Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com, and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
Just me, bros. What's going on, y'all? What's happening? Here we go. Yeah, my bad. Had to take a dump. Wes is, I believe, in Vegas at some sort of conference. ASB, thank you, brother. Yeah, I was going through the chat here. Dude, Jordan, definitely hit up church. I think it's a good thing to go to. Find one you like, obviously. There's another thing. Also, ASB, yeah, I still do COSD. It's just the last few weekends I've been like traveling and doing a bunch of weird shit. So I think I might have to do war mode. I made a blood pact with them this week since it helped me out. But I'm going to try to like actually schedule that out now so it's not just like flying week by week. But yeah, so Wes is gone. So I was just going to, pick people. Actually, I'm going to grab Ray and just kind of go one by one, just check in with everybody because I've been reading some cool stuff and I'd like to get people's thoughts on it. So, and if anybody has anything in particular, obviously just raise the hand and I'll snag you. But I'm going to snag the Ray man right now. Oh, this is perfect. He even asked a question that'd be perfect to talk about. Waiting for him to connect. But yeah, dude, to start answering your question, it's funny, I was thinking about this today, and like, dude, if you haven't sat down and started to at least try to sketch out your values, your decision-making processes are, and I'm speaking from experience, just like, what are you basing decisions off of? What up, dude?
What up, bro? My wife said I've got a bit of the Unabomber hair going on as soon as you said you were going to pull up Ray. So
Hair looks fine, dude.
I know. What's left of it, I have to cherish and like nurture and love. But yeah, so I was thinking, Matt, I'm just in the how you doing, bud?
Good, also, man. How you doing?
I love the war mode, Chat Nation crossovers. I love the Dad Me crossovers. I love all that shit, man. So go on war mode and just totally derail them by talking about like the Oedipal father or the phallic mother thing. They'll want to talk about Hillary Clinton or something, but it'll be
no, they love. You get Spud going on mythology. He gets pretty pumped.
Yeah, man. So I'm pumped for that for sure. And then during our scorecard session this week, values came up, and I was just thinking. I recalled that you were able to rattle off your 5 values at one point. Courageous, honest, dependable, whatever they are. And so can you remind the dogs, isn't there like a greater list of about 30 values you draw from?
So when I first started, it's funny. So when you first start doing it, that's kind of like, I was standing at ground zero where it was like, I couldn't fathom how to like set something like that up. So originally to start out, yeah, you go and there's like lists of value words and you can just kind of like pick things that kind of stand out to you and then try to think of what you need to do to embody that thing. But honestly, at this point, you can start to kind of like, that was what I did to get started, and I don't really think about that much anymore. Mm-hmm. Now I try to really filter my things through like, let's think. So there's like the values are cool. It's like good to have like what you prioritize, and like when you're making decisions, are you making them based on like avoiding pain and pleasure? Which it's like the thing I'm reading right now talks about how that's kind of like, what do they call that? Like the road of unthinkingness. Like if you're just like naturally trying to kind of like avoid pain and pleasure and kind of like solely look out for yourself in terms of like, you know, things that feel good and trying to do that as much as possible, typically that leads people to bad situations. And right. I think that's pretty solid, you know, to think about. Like if I love to get stoned. If I were to get stoned all day and neglect my duties, I'd feel great on the way to that, but eventually something would happen where I'd be like, fuck, why did I do that? And, you know, you can apply that to anything. Same thing with like, if you want to like cheat, it's like, you're like, oh, this is great, I should do this, blah, blah, blah. And then after, you know, when the shit hits the fan, you're just like, fuck. Why
did I do that?
And the values are the things, so the value, Sam, we're naturally geared to just do all that stuff, to kind of like be seeking pleasure and avoiding certain things that we don't typically want to do. But where values come in and forming some sort of like deeper personality structure is like you're then equipped with your values, and like, you know, say if you can like come up with some sort of like life calling, life mission, you can take that, and you know, it can be super feeble and not really thought out that well at first, but if you have something, you can then start to kind of filter decisions through your value system, rather than just being like, yeah, that would be good. Oh, I'd love that. Oh, I'd love 9 more. Like, I'll eat that. Dude, whenever I make cheeseburgers, I always battle with like one burger. Great. I eat it. I enjoy it. Then there's a second burger, and I know I'm going to get sick. I know I am. I know I'm going to get sick. But before, I would just go, I'm going to eat this thing, and I would just be sick. And I would do it every fucking week. We'd have burgers, and I would eat 2 burgers, and I would get sick.
Or pizza, right? Like, why?
Same thing with pizza.
Why even close the pizza box?
Dude,
you know, you're eating it all. You're eating it in succession.
I mean, as soon as you cross the 4th slice horizon, then you start to go, I'm just going to close the circle, and just you hit the 5th. Once you're at the 5th, you're like, I might as well eat the whole pie.
I already hate myself. I'm disgusting. I'm just going to try and kill myself with pizza now.
Or I'd be like, I'm going to take a 20-minute break and come back. Mm-hmm. And it's just like again, the thing I was reading, they talk about that, where it's like, you know, try to just eat only when you're hungry. Like, I do it all the time. I've been getting myself out of the thing like, well, it's breakfast time, I need to eat, and it's just like, no, I'll just wait till I'm hungry. And it's really cool because and again, I'm obviously not 100% on this, but like, I've been doing it. Yesterday I was successful of like, I'm not going to eat until I get a hunger pang. And dude, it's pretty cool because then the hunger comes, you're like, yes, I can't wait to eat.
Whereas like the pizza, with the 5th slice of pizza, it's more like just there's a cramming of objects into your mouth, which is more of that's right. It's not exactly feeding yourself.
No, it's just they'll say that's like giving into like infantile oral pleasures and all that stuff, but yeah, that's the whole thing. Like if you have something you're trying to do, like say like, you know, the thing I use, and this is what a value is, you know, this is an example of it, is like, you know, I look at something like that, ice cream, pizza, all the treats at a family party, and then I see them, so they attract my senses, and I'm like, these would be good, even though I'm not hungry at all, because I just had like ribs and burgers and all kinds of other shit. You see it and you go, well, it would be nice though to be like 75, 80 and like not like fucking scooting around in a mobility chair. And that's a value. I go, I want to have, you know, one of my values is I want to have a healthy body as long as possible. So it's like, you know, let me not have that.
That Socrates quote really resonated with me last week, that you posted with the Crowdcast alert. In every one of us, there are 2 ruling and directing principles, whose guidance we follow wherever they may lead. The one being an innate desire of pleasure, the other an acquired judgment which aspires after excellence. Socrates, izquotes.com. So and then Wes and I discussed it on the scorecard, and it's like, Wes thought like, that's not saying the one is bad and the other is ideal, right? The pleasure is bad, the excellence is ideal. I mean, that's how I read it, but he said it's important to have a reward mechanism built into your the structure of your day, or the structure of your actions. to always draw you back to doing the right thing to get that reward, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, for sure.
How do you interpret that quote? Like, why did you put that quote up?
The reason I put that quote up, because I think I talked about this last week, where there was that thing I came across in one of the books I was listening to with like the idea of Preya and Shreya, which is the same thing as a toward and away move. A lot of the act stuff just comes from toward and away move. Like a lot of the act stuff comes from like the Eastern philosophy stuff. But the Preya and Shreya stuff is cool where, again, it's like once you adopt, the thing is like a lot of people don't like to think about values because then it forces them to start like interpreting things, so many things they do automatically that you have to think about it now. Like, well, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I look at my phone right now? It's like, well, look at your phone, relax, don't be neurotic, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's a difference between being like self-punishing and neurotic versus being conscious of what you're doing. And when you have the Preya and Shreya thing, it's like, all right, say I ate breakfast, I'm full, I'm satisfied, and then someone comes in with donuts. It's like, are you bad for eating donuts? No. But it's like, if you're at that crossroad and say you do have a goal of like losing some pounds, being healthy, the donuts are diametrically opposed to what you're up to. So it's like, at that moment, your road splits. Every time you encounter a thing that you could like consume or take in, your road diverges between two paths. One is like the one that's more sensually pleasing, which would be eating the donut, and then the other path is abstaining, and like it genuinely, what you do leads to somewhere else. Well, if I have one donut, it's not a big deal. And you're absolutely right. But if you have a donut every time someone presents you donuts or something like a donut, that will make a humongous difference in your life. So again, it's like I'm not harping on the food stuff because, if you want to enjoy a donut, knock yourself out. But the idea is when you adopt like a set of values, it becomes almost overwhelming if you really pay attention and think about it as to how many decisions you're presented with throughout the day, and how those decisions and the way you respond to them are the exact things that shape your experience in life. And it's like, you hit someone with this at a barbecue and they're like, what'd you say?
Fapping is a perfect example.
Dude, right. I'm telling you, man, that's yeah, because it's like, again, and this isn't like a call for like, Puritanism, but there's something
mastery over your urges. That's the biggest thrill for me.
It's the willpower, and that's a thing that we don't have. And it's funny because the idea of willpower, the idea of like not ejaculating became political with all the Proud Boy stuff and all this stuff, and it's like, whatever, that's a whole situation. But it's like the idea of, like you were saying, exercising willpower. It's not because that thing's bad, but it doesn't serve people very well if they're not constantly conditioning the power of will. Because I think it was like thinking controls actions and will controls thinking. So it's like, you think, I'm going to move my arm. But you can actually will yourself to kind of like just not pay attention to thoughts, or have the thought and then you can will yourself in saying like, no. This morning I'm on I think it's a 4-day no-fap streak. And I've just been doing it just to test my will. It's like, if I give in, whatever, I'm not into the whole guilt of it and all of that. But it's like, dude, I 2 days in a row, mornings I woke up and I was like, it's going, dude, it's going. And then I just go, no. And I just kind of like, just to show myself I have there's a part of me that can override my more kind of like sense-driven mechanisms. And it's good to learn. It's good to learn how to do. Like, we don't really think about we don't have willpower taught to us at all, like whatsoever.
Yeah. And quitting drinking and quitting drugging for me was like the cornerstone. Like when I was drinking and drugging so much, it got to a point where I was just like, everything was just urge response, right? So from quitting drinking and drugging, I was able to then have a kind of like a willpower template from which I added fapping, right? And then from which I've added like healthy eating. So like, for example, like this jug of sewage here is my green drink.
Yeah.
That again, yeah, and like, it's not like if someone comes in with donuts, I'm just trying to fill as much of my stomach as I can with healthy. And then if someone comes in a donut, I can have one because I've already got the kind of like the self-esteem from doing the right thing or taking care of myself.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like whatchamacallit. Yeah, you're not gonna have not eaten all day, then eat like 3 of them, and you also have like fiber. You have stuff in your body that's good. Your body's not just like, your body can discard the donut. It doesn't have to try to like fuel you strictly from the donut.
Yeah, I see that ASB just said he just fat before this and now he feels like shit. But ASB, I don't think that the men, women, and public restrooms of New York are safe unless you don't like do a couple of faps before you head out into the world. Okay, so you just keep it up, buddy. Like, I don't think we can handle your libido just off the chain.
Well, dude, the cool thing too is, again with the stuff this is where I think a lot of this stuff gets kind of a bad rap. Is like, there's no need for like the guilt in this stuff. I mean, if you're doing something like genuinely horrible, that's bad. Don't do that. But like, a lot of this gets a bad rap because it's like this stuff is usually governed by like, you're going to hell, or like you're a piece of shit, or blah blah blah. And the
or
thing
it's a sin, or like God's watching and he's writing you parking tickets every time you fat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you're gonna pay, blah blah blah. But the idea too, and this is something I'm still trying to like figure out because I just read it, but they talk about how one of like they go through like in the Glorious Presence book, they go through like a whole system of like dealing with your thoughts, which again is like discerning between like, is this something, they say the impermanent and the permanent. So it's like, is this a fleeting thing? And you can also think about it like, does this have any relation to like my set of values or like what I ultimately want, which you can classify that as like the permanent. What do I ultimately want to do? What do I ultimately want to like to be like? And anything that is extraneous to that, you can literally just be like, nah, and just let it go. But then they have you go through
so it's the same math as the values, kind of, right?
Same thing. It's all a lot of this stuff just really kind of like dovetails to the same basic principle, which is like, be conscious of what you're doing. You have to be self-deterministic. The whole thing is like, a mango seed can't grow into an oak tree. So if like, and the same way is like, if you're solely letting external forces dictate, the person you're becoming and the things you do, you're going to get frustrated because you're going against your own inherent coding that only you can figure out and, display in the world. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing is like, you learn how to, so you start like, you have thoughts, you start discerning them like, oh, that's just a daydream. I can just stop doing that right now. Like, I do it all the time. I like daydream about someone like trying to start shit with me, and I'll just have like
oh, for sure.
And then I'd fucking do, and I catch myself.
The one-liners, and isn't it tragic that that's the only time you can access like killer one-liners in those battles? Because if someone bumps up against you in real life, the adrenaline spikes or whatever, and you're trying to evaluate, was it an accident? Is this right? So
yep.
I never have those. You talking to me?
Exactly. Yeah. No. It's nobody's. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, so it's like learning how to do that within your mind, where it's like, oh, that's just a daydream. That's just that I'm thinking a thing. How do I even know that's a real thing? So you can start discerning all the information in your mind. And the idea is, you do the same thing with your feelings. You say like, look, man, anything like, if I'm getting feelings for certain things, I'm going to try to not let external things color, how I feel and how I think. I'm gonna like, I'll take in the information, but I'll try to think of it for myself. And that's when they talk about like recalibrating your kind of like your sense drives toward like some sort of like pinning it back toward your body, rather than being like, oh, I want pizza, I just saw a Papa John's commercial. Oh, it's like, are you even hungry? No. Okay, then what are you up to? What do you want? What do you want to do? I'm pretty sure pizza has nothing to do with your ultimate realization of like your, ultimate self-expression. But then the cool thing to get into too is like, then you use the same system that you classify your mind with, your thoughts with, and your feelings, and then you just go around your house and you're like, do the same thing. Do I need this? Is this, they call it right thinking, wrong thinking. Does this thing serve me? Yes or no? Okay, and it could just be something that you find beautiful. Okay, cool, that's good. So you go through all your stuff, you get rid of everything. The whole idea is just kind of decluttering your life and mind with anything that's not pertinent to like the answer to your question, which is what do I want, and then figuring out how to answer that. Pretty cool. I mean, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's funny how like because I think that I am my biggest obstacle. Like I can blame everything on my parents or society, or find whatever reason that things aren't going my way. But I think that what I can change faster and more is me and my habits, and I am my biggest obstacle. And it's like, we sabotage ourselves in so many ways, and what I'm hearing, what I'm thinking of when I hear that is like, like the way we set, like, what do I ultimately want? And then you, am I about to sabotage myself? Then you go around your house, right? And it's like, what things am I doing that get in my way of doing what I want?
And well, it's also too like what kind of basic assumptions am I running on that I'm not even thinking about?
Mm-hmm. I see Gunther mentioning Instagram. I don't know what they're talking about, but like social media is a perfect example, right? Yep. Where you have a urge to either connect, I don't know, whatever the urge is, to turn it on, connect, look at hot chicks, see what other people have, and you invariably feel insecure or feel less than after scrolling through it for half an hour.
Yeah, I mean it's exactly. It's like there's a lot of like social validation, especially if you start being active and like you post like how many people liked it, that, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. But the one of the ideas too from the thing I was reading was like, again, you start recalibrating your wants and needs around like the thing that you feel is most fulfilling, along with like, you know, your like you were saying, Ray, like, do I need to go on Instagram? Like, how is it actually serving me? Do I need to eat this stuff? How is that serving me? Fuck, I kind of lost my point.
So is your day boring as fuck?
No, dude. This is what I was gonna say. I remembered. So, you know, it's like you can kind of cut a lot of that stuff out. And again, it's like, well, why? Why should I do that? It's like none of it matters unless you can sit down with yourself and say, what do I value and what am I actually trying to do? And it's like, I don't know a single person who is like, has like, you know, has figured out their values, figured out what they want in life, and also is like taking proactive steps toward like a thing that they find intrinsically meaningful to them, who like does it for a while and is just like, this is bullshit. You're typically just from doing that, you feel kind of happier.
Hell yeah. And I think that for me, and I've said this before on the cast, but like being spiritually fulfilled for some reason is the language that really connects with me. You know, so and what I mean by that is like, if you're doing a job you hate versus if you're doing a job where you're spiritually fulfilled, right? Like, and I think of a couple of years ago when the first time I got a job selling art at an art gallery in a retail store with windows and people come in saying, how much is this? And I was 40 and my direct peer equal colleagues were 22 right out of their like, women's literature degree or something.
Sure.
And it was, but I was spiritually fulfilled by that. If a rich guy or an old person or a kid came in and asked a question about the art, I would be time. It wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Like time would collapse, and it was. I wasn't staring at the clock. So spiritually fulfilled is the language that. Cracks the code for me. And what term did you use? You used
I think no, I know what you're talking about. I think that's what the distinction they make with the thing, and I agree with you.
How do we figure that out? How do we figure out either how do we figure out what spiritually fulfills us?
I feel like it's
how did you?
So the thing I always use is like trying to let your experience be your judge. So it's like, what's the thing that you feel naturally drawn to, you know, in some regard. And it's like, well, okay, so there's a couple things. It's like, the way I think of it is like, what could I contribute to or do that'll be here after I'm gone? And that's where I think that you know, it's like, or I can, you know, just sit here and continuously fulfill sensory pleasures for myself, you know, as much as I want. But that's the spiritual question for me is like, what can I do or contribute to that will outlive me? And like, what could I do that will leave an imprint on life after I've left it? Me as the individual left the pool of life. How can I contribute to like life as a whole in a positive way? That's life affirmative. And then it's like, you know, it's like, well, I can do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And in order to do that, I have to be constantly pushing down these things that are coming up, trying to distract me from that, which are, you know, they come up, and it's, you know, again, you don't have to be totally like, you don't have to be totally self-negating, but it's like, let me make sure it's not interfering. So that, for me, that's it. It's like, there's me, and then there's life as a whole. And it's like, I'm in a manifestation of an overall humongous network of life. I'm a singular entity. The whole thing's not about me, but I can, through my powers in my little corner of the world, improve it so that after I'm gone, like, I didn't leave a fucking mess for somebody else to deal with. And that, I think that's kind of like a spiritual quest.
And that can also probably help you, like, get out of your own head, you know, that expression where you're not just either having these wars with having these imaginary arguments, or when you were talking there, it also made me think of like family drama or friend drama, you know, getting sucked into gossip discussions and stuff like that. There is you can feel an urge to add to that, pile on, defend a person, whatever it is, but again, put it through the filter of, is this what I want, or put it through that filter of, does this ultimately push the boulder up the mountain of what I want to leave behind, of what I want to achieve? Yeah,
exactly. It's just that. And it's like, you can even think of it as like, you know, after you're gone, are your kids like a desolate wreck, or are they like, you know, are they ready to take on life and kind of do, you know, are they going to carry the torch that you've handed them, or are they just going to sit around and be like, what a fucking asshole, and be like, what kind of thing are you, like, what kind of inherent worldview are you programming into them? Is it one of just like, you know, like misery and failure and everything's too, like, if you're as a parent too overwhelmed by the world and you're like, I can't handle it, it's too scary, your kids are going to be fucking terrified. So it's like, if you can be like, you know, I got this, and kind of champ it and go through, you're like literally programming your kids to go and take a life affirmative approach, and kind of like, you know, you can spare them the nonsense of having to deal with all this shit. And dude, gossip, man, I fall prey to it all the time. I've been really, really monitoring how much I participate, and just kind of like, and I notice this too, like, I'll walk around, and if you pay attention to people's conversations, and maybe I'm just like hyper attuned to it, they're just talking about other people every single time. You hear them like, oh, then this guy, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, and people do annoying shit. I know this, but that's something I find really interesting. And I'm really trying to like get out of like shit talky conversations. It's hard.
Yeah. And I mentioned family drama as well. Like, for example, we were dropping off Thea at, I want to share, like, I just want to celebrate this, like this argument with my mom that I was able to escape through humor. And I didn't actually tell her how I felt and how she was making me feel, but like, she just got back from a trip, and I'm dropping off my daughter at camp. So in the week she's been back, I did not bring my daughter over to her, but I needed this COVID proof, the proof that my daughter's COVID free, that I forgot at home. And we were already 2 hours out of the city. I asked my mom, hey, can you go grab this thing and, you know, take a picture of it with your cell phone, text it to me? She's like, she replies, well, it was so nice to see you since I was away for more than a month. Great catching up with you. You and your daughter Thea are looking very well. Like, we didn't see her, right? This is her,
Yeah.
And so, my wife is texting for me, and she's like, your mom is being such a bitch right now, right? And I'm like, please just text the following. I'm driving right now and I can't respond to your hilarious jokes, Mom. And she's like, or is it because you're feeling guilty? And I replied, I feel guilt beyond measure. Hang on while I drive off a bridge. So yeah. I was able to defuse the situation and not get, my immediate feeling was like, you always do this. I was there for you. Mm-hmm. When you needed me to, you know, vacuum your house before tenants came over. And so like, the urge to, and that was kind of that same gossip, it draws from the same part of the brain where gossip exists, right? Family drama, and like the desire to say one-liners. It's all that kind of like that, like angel devil on the shoulder kind of thing, sure. You know, where it's like, don't take the bait. Yep. You know, don't scratch that itch.
Well, so if the fundamental, if you were just like, if you can let all that stuff in, you can say like, fuck, my mom always does this. She's inherently like a negative force, blah, 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 blah. And then that can pop up and you can be like, I knew it. And then, you can just have years of like, I'm not talking to her anymore. You can just all within your power to do. Or you can just go, my mom's just kind of bitching right now. She's, it's like, and you can think about life from her perspective. Like, man, she's,
dude, and I have those, and I have those, and they're turning into decades long. Decades long. Like, that's the other thing. Like, okay, Matt, help me out here. Because for the longest time, so my best man for my wedding, he had this new girlfriend. We said she wasn't invited, so he said, I'm out the day before my wedding, right?
Yeah.
So
why wasn't she invited?
Because we had to make this rule, like girlfriends of less than 3 weeks or a month.
Right.
You're planning a wedding, right? Slowly. Yeah. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Sure. No,
some people get a +1, some don't.
Yeah.
And blood feud and decades long vendettas ensue.
Sure.
So I went on Craigslist and got like a last minute best man. Everything worked out, but my wife and my former best friend are both waiting for the other to apologize first.
Sure.
Right, and I think we're at 15 years now. So I could have done the same thing with my mom right there, right? Like, Mom, you always do this, and just waiting for her to apologize first. Mm-hmm. And so, but recently, like, what do you think is the right thing to do in terms of, like, do you apologize even though you think the other person was at fault, or is it more fair to your true self or something to hold the grudge, or do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, is it actually the right thing to do? I'm now wondering, is it actually the right thing to do to let things slide?
I think just being honest. Just, again, you in that case, you can just go like, you really need to be like, hey, Mom, when you do this kind of stuff, it's kind of annoying. With that, I feel like you can just be like, hey, like you were saying, just diffuse it. And if it hits a point where it's like, this is genuinely bothering you can be like, yo, man, can you please? Like, this is how I feel. It's not the end all be all, but I'm just reporting to you, like, this is how this is coming off. Because, again, there's, like, people can get lost in, like, just take it, just turn the other cheek, just take it. And eventually, like, if you can do that forever, cool. But, like, typically people get resentful. And then you start thinking, next thing you know, you're like, oops, it just so happened to, she's calling me, I'll call her back. And you don't for 3 days. And you're like, I forgot. But, really, and, like, reconciliation, unless you can't, like Chupacabra said. And again, it's like, why? It's like, well, so that we don't have to, like, eventually we are going to see each other. And do you want to be in an environment where, like, hey, kids, as your grandma, we're kind of beefing. And then the kids feel all uncomfortable. And it's just negative, dude. It's just so negative.
Man, Matt, I've got, like, Homeland with Carrie, I've got like pictures with string and like articles with names highlighted of people. I'm just thinking, like, my brother Frank, I'm not talking to him. It's just like, it is a twisted web of, like, who I'm gonna, like, deny people can see my daughter, I'm using this person against that. Oh my God.
And I'm telling you, man, and then it's like, then people get depressed and like, well, why do I feel depressed? It's like, well, because, like, baked into your perception of the world are, like, all of these beefs and, like, negative assertions. And
I'm the victim here, I'm the victim there.
Yeah, man. And it's like, that's something too. That's like where the values are. It's like, are you just going to throw your hands up and say, like, man, this is bullshit. The government's against me. This is bullshit. And it's like, you can think that, and that can be your fundamental guiding, principle of the world. And it's like, and you can find so much evidence for it to back it up. It's just not going to serve you at all. It's just, it's not good. I've been like Jordan, dude. I've been reading my Bible quotes, dude. And there's like the stuff of, like, if the eye is diseased, it's like they just word things really coolly, but basically saying, like, if you have light in your eyes, your body's going to be light. Everything's going to work fine. If your fundamental guiding principle of life is one, symbolically of light, life will be a little bit better. And if your fundamental principles of life are, diseased, then it's like you're just kind of harboring darkness within yourself at, like, a basic building block level. And you're going to feel like shit, man. And it's like, you're going to feel like shit either way, here and there. But if bad things happen, you're like, yup, here's reality being confirmed. This is just how it is. It's like, okay. Or if bad things happen, you go, things are ultimately good. This is just a passing storm. That's a decision people have to make.
Yeah, I've got this. it's cheesy as hell, but it's Bible.com. That's the app. It's
Nice.
the Bible app, and it just shoots you a morning meditation. And but it's like the new international version or something, where it's like very updated vernacular. So what I did is I bought a King James Bible version because I wanted that old school, like the poetry of that ancient language, you know?
Yeah.
Even though it's not ancient, it's like 1600s or something, but
Probably, yeah.
it's fucking impenetrable, man. So like what I read the little, hey man, God's in your squad, kind of like updated language. I'm like, nice. And then I look up the Bible passage in the King James, and it's like, fear thou not, for I am thy God. And like, I'm just like, wait a second, what does that mean, man?
Yeah, this is the Lamsa translation. This is directly from the Aramaic before it turned into Greek, which, you know, it's all the same stuff. But yeah, I just like reading the quotes from it, man. It's cool. Like these back then, they were dealing with like the invention of money and how that changed society, and it's cool to kind of
and like what if you have twins, like all these novel things, right?
Yeah. But it's called the Lamsa. Lamsa's translate L.
And so that is and so I know that like I've heard over time that like the King James Bible, like I'm not actually getting closer to the Word of God or Word of Christ, right? Because like when it was translated and formatted back then, they had all their political issues in mind, right? Like witches and what to do with them comes up a hell of a lot more in the King James version, right? Because that was just like that was the skinny jeans of the time.
Well, yeah, right. And it's funny too. The thing that like, so I was reading this book and it talked about like one of the meditations you can do. You can take any form of scriptures or like wisdom texts, and you just pick like a quote and you just read it for like 20 minutes over and over. You read it, meditate on it, read it. And I think like, you know, we're talking about values and principles and how you can use kind of, let's say, like the immaterial things to kind of guide your entire life. And there's one, oh man, of course I didn't put it in a bookmark. But there was here I did. But there's a quote in here I really like, and I think it kind of sums it up. But it says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures buried in the ground, a place where rust and moth destroy and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourself a treasure in heaven where neither rust nor moth destroys and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there is also your heart." And it's like, again, you can read it and take it literally, and I'm going to heaven. Or you can just, I'd like to read the Bible from like a psychological standpoint where it's like, you can just think of heaven as like your, you know, like your internal consciousness, whatever, however you want to put it. You can think of it as a place you go to, you know, that's cool too. But the idea is like, you know, if you put all of your effort into like pleasing your senses, it's like you're going to hit the point where you get frustrated to the point where like every time you eat, you're like shitting in a bag and your boner doesn't work and all of this stuff. And it's like, you know, so enjoy it while you can. But at the same time, in order to not die a horrible, wretched old person death, you should be from a younger point working on the things that go beyond yourself. So then when you die, you feel fulfilled rather than just slowly losing your faculties and being like, I can't do all my stuff that I've dedicated my whole life towards selfishly. So yeah, man, it's like, you know, you just read stuff, you know, get it.
I also love how like, I love the imagery, like thieves, rust, and moth. We're on the same, like could fuck up your shit equally, you know, like getting robbed and a moth like sneaking into your hut.
Yeah, it's, you know, and again, all of this stuff is just to kind of assist people. You know, you can get like, because all this stuff's charged. You go, oh my God, the Bible is this Christian camp, and you can get onto that, and it's like, and that's kind of like when, in my opinion, I would do this a lot, where like you're prejudging. Everything carries this weight where you're going, I don't want to be like associated with that kind of stuff, and I don't know. And in reality, it's like, you know, just read it. It's like, they're cool words. I like them. I go, yeah, this is kind of neat. It's a cool thing to remind yourself on constantly. All the stuff I'm worrying about is tied to things that, you know, won't be around for much longer. So let me kind of direct my energy and focus to things that I think will be around for at least a little longer, and then, you know, pour myself into that. And the weirdest part is, and this seems to be true from as far as I can tell, when you gear yourself toward others, you end up feeling better. When you like really make an effort, and again, you don't have to go overboard and like totally like negate yourself, but like people who do that tend to feel better in the long run, and people who let themselves come first, like always and, you know, forever, tend to have kind of like bad guy endings in life. And I've seen this happen to people where you get old and it's like no one's talking to you, you're kind of estranged, it's everybody else's fault, and blah blah blah. It's like that's on the table for everybody, if they kind of if they go it alone, self-absorbed.
Yeah,
if they're too self-absorbed for so long, dude. It's like, again, I always come back to like, and it's like, again, like you could think of the idea of like, you have people. I always come back to marriage. It's like you're in a marriage and you're like, I'm sexually frustrated. I'm blah blah blah. I'm X, Y, and Z. Now
I'm fed up with all these things. I'm fed up with how she takes off her jacket when she gets in the house and just throws it on the couch.
Yeah,
I've tried making fun of her. I've tried doing it for her.
You can paint. You can do all that stuff, and you can see that, and you can filter that through like people shouldn't. People should do what I want, and if they don't, I'm gonna spaz. Or you step back and take a larger picture, and it's like, let me keep the peace of the house. Let me use this as more of a meditative exercise. I'll still be honest about it. I won't just be like, well, just silently deal. Just say, hey, come on, could you do that? Could you do blah, 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 and, be open when people hit you with it. But again,
the long game. That's the long game. You're like, I'll get my revenge.
That's what's going to live after.
In 20 years, she'll really have her guard down.
Oh, yeah.
And
just
then
being 80, just wait until you're 80 and be like, fuck you. They're like, what? Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm also that also reminds me of like but long game and like doing things more long term, less short term thinking, less impulsive thinking. It's impulse control, right?
Yes.
And I always had trouble when I was a student, like elementary school, high school, and really noticing university. Like I really had trouble with those projects that you had to put in a little bit of time each day and it was due at the end of the semester, right? Like something due the next day, no problem. But when it comes to building something cumulatively, like I always struggle with that. And that is just an essential life skill.
Yeah, forming habits. Yeah, exactly. If you like made it a habitual thing in your day. Yeah, I did the same thing. I never did schoolwork bit by bit, but the cool, and this is the other way to picture, like kind of going back to like, long-term like spiritual fulfillment kind of stuff and how to build your life around that. The thing I was reading too, they were talking about how, you have like Mesopotamia, Babylon, Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, all of these civilizations that at the time were just like beyond grand in scale. And if you lived in there, it would be crazy to be like, yo, this is going to like literally turn to so much dust and rubble that people even question when it happened or where it was, in some respects. But what they were saying is when you try to like, how do I gear myself toward the permanent or that which is non-fleeting, like from those, even though all the material of them just fucking disintegrated, we still have our language. We have like from Mesopotamia, that gave way to like, let's say the people who then became the Romans, the Greeks, and all the other places, the Far East, all the places around the world.
Right? Like it's interesting what survives.
Yes.
It's really interesting. Like talk about you can't take it with you.
Yeah. I mean, like
it's really interesting what actually survives. Like to tie it back in, a lifetime, like a legacy, but like you said. Or it's just interesting what survives a decade or dude, like.
I mean, the dynasties and it's like you have like the dynasties in the East and that gave rise to like what's now like Taoism, Confucianism, like the Indian scriptures, all of that stuff. It's like these were like fucking epic dynasties that just fell to nothing. But the thing that remained was like the knowledge that people still carry within them from some shit some guy wrote in like 800 AD. And it's like, that's insane. And it's like, maybe you're not going to write the next Bible, whatever, but you can contribute to that same thing in like your relationships with other people and kind of like slowly gearing people towards not being like, self-alienating and negative and just like, inherently critical. Like, dude, you still go out and you see this, like, of people who will go out with their kids and just be like fucking ragging on them. And it's like, dude, stop. Like, you don't need it. Like, and it's like, it's like if less and less people did kind of stuff like that, stop fucking smacking the shit out of their kids, all that stuff. It changes, it literally changes society as a whole. But people think like the things they're doing are totally inconsequential because they're just like basking in the media, social media,
and in the moment, and also it's moment response, right?
Yeah, it all happens.
Kid is
like
screaming, or kid is complaining, wife is complaining, kid is complaining. Dad's got to move for that.
Yeah. It literally all happens within, like, everyone thinks like, oh, if I get this one big thing and it's like that'll alter my life. It's like, dude, you can literally alter your life by exercising willpower over the course of a year straight. You'd be blown out of your fucking socks to be like, holy shit. Like, again, dude, the idea of like not fucking breaking a thing to me like 2 years ago when I was angry, I'd be like, no, dude, I have to break this. I'm upset. And then it was like, well, just try not to.
Or like I get to break this because I'm upset.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I was like, I can't hold this feeling in my body. It's overwhelming. And then you learn how you're like, oh, actually I can. And, you know, so, yeah, man, that's, I think we're at noon right now, and I'm going to get to jetting. But the, yeah, man, I didn't mean to just ramble this whole time. I wanted to check in with people. But
that's all you do, dude.
You hit me on the spirit.
This is why we tune in, to listen to you ramble. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. You hit me with the spiritual questions, man. But I'm telling you, it's like, find what you like to do. See, you know, if it's some way, you know, affirmative of life for those and, you know, people around you. And I think, like what Gunther was saying, like, you know, he's doing his fitness videos on Instagram. People are ragging on him,
dude. I love them. They're
yeah, well, it's like, my thing is like, if you like doing it, maybe
park of a life, and he's like, no, I'm building a better Gunther. You know,
yeah, man, and again, that's an exercise in willpower.
Three-legged
it's like
tipple, skipping by, doing his kettlebells. I fucking love it, Gunther. Keep it up.
Yeah,
man.
if you like it, do it, man. Yeah, let people, you know, try to, you know, and people will eventually just be like, whatever, and just accept it and get over it. But it is something, you know, it's strange. But either way,
and Matt, it pumps me up, like, to those. The other thing is like someone, whatever, someone from the Legion Hall or something might say, Gunther, he's just fucking like stroking his own bird by posting those videos. But Gunther, those videos pump me up, man, big time.
That's the other thing too. That's a funny thing for people. It's like, well, maybe it's just not for you, but like, you know, you're saying, Ray, if you watch that, you go, oh, let me go work out. That's all it is. And it's like, you know, people like that. If people see it, like, stop doing that. It's like, it's just not for you, dude. All right, we're doing Dude of the Week.
Friday, correct?
Yeah, who do you toss in who you nominate? Yeah, people toss in who you nominate. I'm nominating
Lily Gunther for his gay porn Instagram videos of him working out.
Got the Gunth. I'm going to toss. Oh, Kaizen got into the sky, bro. Shit, that's tough. Kaizen fucking
What, like flying
flew.
lessons?
I believe so.
Dude, 9/11 all over again. 9/12, look out.
I'm doing Chalup. If anyone else has anyone, toss them in. I'm going to give it 2 seconds, and then, all right, we're adding this thing up. We got Gunth, we got Kaizen, we got Chalupa here going here. Let's see, Ray just bounce. Let me see what we got going on here. It's getting close. It's tied. Kaizen and Chalupa. Kaizen's pulling off, Gunth jumping in there. It's tied. Oh, dude. Oh, my God. We might have a two-way tie between Kaizen and Chalupa. That's it. I think that's, yeah, there's that many.
These guys are straight as hell. They don't appreciate your videos, bro.
Dude, we have a two-way tie. That's what it is. Damn, God, got no love, dude.
Have you cast your vote, Matt?
I can't. It doesn't let me vote.
Is Kaizen here today? Is he on is he in the chat?
No, I don't think he's here. I didn't see him.
All right.
Up. Chalupa just.
Sorry, Gunther. Obviously, Gunther gets one vote. That was his vote. I'm sorry, bro.
Well, I think we have 7 live watchers right now.
All right.
Somehow we have 9 votes. So now I'm confused. Like, how does this even work?
No, I see 8 votes. I see 3 for two, 3 for Kaizen.
It's 8 now. Chalup just jumped ahead.
No, that was me.
Whatever.
That was me
it's
switching.
Oh, well, it's a tie. Either way, it's a tie. Kaizen, Chalup, dudes of the week.
No.
Oh, now Chalup's got 4. All right, then. It's Chalup. Chalup wins.
All right.
Oh, now it's tied. Now it's Kaizen and Chalup.
God
dude.
Damn it, Gunther. Vote for
That's
yourself,
it.
bro.
It's tied, dude.
All right, it's a tie.
All right. Hell yeah.
2 losers, no winner.
Hell yeah. Well, dudes, we did it. Ray, thank you, and we'll be back on Monday.
Thank you, Matt. See you on Monday, guys. Slay the weekend.
Yeah, man.
Act from your values. Long game. Make your way 20 years for your revenge.
willpower, dude. Just governing, just getting that will jacked
Hell
later
yeah.
on.